The Great Pyramid of Giza holds secrets deeper than any tomb. You are about to learn how to see the world's oldest monuments not as silent ruins, but as a global library written in the universal language of geometry. Why would cultures separated by oceans encode the exact same mathematical patterns into their temples and tombs? And what forgotten knowledge were they trying to preserve for the future? This journey will change the way you see human history itself. What one ancient site would you most want to visit with this new perspective? That language is written all around us, in the spirals of galaxies and the petals of a flower. Ancient cultures saw these repeating patterns not as random accidents, but as the fundamental blueprint of creation itself. They observed the perfect symmetry of a snowflake, the unerring spiral of a nautilus shell, and the intricate hexagonal cells of a honeycomb. This was the birth of sacred geometry, a universal code of form and proportion that they believed governed everything from the smallest life forms to the grand movements of the cosmos. To build in harmony with this code was to tap into the very order of the universe. The most basic shapes held the deepest meanings. The circle, with no beginning and no end, represented the infinite and the divine. The square symbolized the solid, physical world, the four directions, and earthly stability. The triangle, pointing upward, was a bridge between the two, a path from the material to the spiritual. But the true magic lies in the relationships between these shapes, defined by specific, timeless ratios. Two numbers, in particular, appear with astonishing frequency. Pi, the constant ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, was used to calculate celestial cycles, and the golden ratio, often called phi, is a special number approximately equal to 1.618. It creates a proportion so aesthetically pleasing and so prevalent in nature, from the arrangement of leaves on a stem to the proportions of the human face, that it was considered the signature of divine beauty. For the master builders of antiquity, incorporating these ratios was not merely an architectural choice. It was a spiritual act. They were not just stacking stones, they were constructing resonant chambers, aligning their temples and tombs with what they saw as the vibrational fabric of reality. This foundational understanding transforms these monuments from simple piles of rock into sophisticated instruments of stone. To see this principle in its most breathtaking form, we must journey to the sands of Egypt. Standing at the base of the Great Pyramid, you are not just looking at a structure of immense size, but a structure of immense intelligence. Its mathematical precision is so profound it defies simple explanation. Take the simple relationship between its shape and the number pi. If you take the pyramid's base perimeter and divide it by twice its height, the result is a figure astonishingly close to the value of pi, the fundamental constant of the circle. This is not a coincidence found in a child's sandcastle. This is a complex equation rendered in millions of tons of limestone. The pyramid does not just contain circles, it embodies them, translating a circular constant into a square-based form. This mathematical genius extends to its placement on the Earth. Its four sides are aligned to the four cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west, with an accuracy finer than 1/15th of a single degree. In a time without modern laser levels or GPS, this kind of precision hints at a lost science of surveying, a knowledge of the planet itself, but the builder's vision reached beyond the Earth. Deep inside the pyramid, narrow shafts extend from the king's chamber, piercing through the massive stone core to open to the night sky. These were not air vents. They were precisely targeted telescopes of stone, aligned with key stars like those in the belt of the constellation Orion. The pyramid was a machine designed to connect the earthly realm with the celestial one, a permanent map of the heavens frozen in architecture. Some researchers even suggest the pyramid's dimensions scale down the very measurements of the northern hemisphere, encoding a spherical understanding of our world within a pyramidal form. Every block, every angle, every alignment feels like a deliberate word in a silent sermon about the order of the cosmos. This was not merely a tomb for a king, it was a library for humanity, built to last until we were ready to read its language. And as we will see, this language of stone and sky was not confined to the deserts of Egypt. It appears again with the same mysterious intent on a remote island in the Pacific Ocean. Far across the world and centuries before the Greek philosopher Pythagoras was born, another ancient civilization was already mastering the relationship between the sides of a right triangle. In the sacred texts of ancient India known as the Sulba Sutras, which translates to the rules of the chord, we find meticulous geometric instructions for constructing ceremonial altars. These texts contain a clear statement of the principle we now call the Pythagorean theorem, describing how the square on the diagonal of a rectangle is equal to the sum of the squares on its two sides. This was not abstract theory for them, it was a practical manual for creation. Using simple tools like ropes and stakes, priests and builders could create perfectly shaped squares and rectangles with exact areas, ensuring their sacred spaces were in perfect geometric harmony. This knowledge was then scaled up from a single altar to the layout of entire temple complexes. The precise orientation, the proportions of the courtyards, the very footprint of the structures were all determined by this sacred geometry. The architecture was the ritual, a physical prayer built according to a divine blueprint. This profound understanding, emerging completely independently in India, presents us with a powerful idea. The drive to uncover these fundamental mathematical truths was a global human impulse. It was not a single spark of genius in one place that then spread, but rather a collective awakening, as if different cultures were all listening to the same universal signal and writing down what they heard. This shared mathematical heritage fundamentally challenges our modern, linear view of history and technological progress. It suggests that the seeds of advanced knowledge were not the property of one great civilization, but were discovered and rediscovered wherever human curiosity turned its gaze to the heavens and sought to reflect that cosmic order here on Earth. The rolling green plains of southern England hold a monument that is both brutally simple and profoundly complex. Stonehenge stands not as a random collection of massive stones, but as a meticulously engineered Neolithic observatory and calendar. Its most famous alignment is a dramatic demonstration of this purpose. On the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, the sun rises directly over the outlying heel stone, casting its first rays into the heart of the stone circle. This was no accident. It was a deliberate, breathtaking feat of alignment, marking a pivotal moment in the annual cycle. But this solstitial alignment is only the beginning of the story. The entire arrangement of the massive sarsen stones and the smaller blue stones creates a complex system for tracking time. The geometry of the site, with its concentric circles and inner horseshoe arrangements, is a physical model of the heavens, a permanent record of celestial rhythms etched into the earth. This understanding of cyclical time extended beyond the sun to the more complex dance of the moon. A ring of 56 pits known as the Aubrey holes, surrounding the main monument, may have served as an early computer for predicting lunar eclipses. By moving markers from hole to hole in a specific sequence, the builders could forecast these awe-inspiring celestial events. This reveals a society not of primitive farmers, but of skilled astronomers and engineers. They possessed a knowledge system so sophisticated, it enabled them to encode the movements of the sun and moon into a landscape of stone, creating a machine that tracked the cosmos itself. We are only now beginning to fully appreciate the intellectual achievement that Stonehenge represents. The pursuit of this divine proportion reached its zenith in the white marble of the Parthenon. Crowning the Acropolis in Athens, this temple is not merely a ruin, it is a symphony in stone, and its musical notes are mathematical ratios. Its facade is a masterclass in the application of the golden ratio. If you were to draw a rectangle around the temple's main face, its proportions would closely match the 1 to 1.618 ratio. This same relationship governs the spacing between its majestic columns and the harmonious balance between its overall width and height. For the ancient Greeks, this was not just about creating a beautiful building, it was a philosophical statement made tangible. They believed that the cosmos itself was ordered by mathematical perfection, and by building according to these same universal rules, they were bringing human creation into alignment with a higher divine logic. The Parthenon stands as a testament to the idea that beauty is not a vague feeling, but a precise, calculable truth found in the very fabric of nature, from the spiral of a seashell to the structure of a pine cone. Yet this profound connection between geometry and the sacred was not a concept the Greeks invented in isolation. The very same principle, this impulse to build heaven on earth, was being expressed with equal power on the other side of the world, in the jungles of Cambodia. The same architectural intelligence that built the pyramids of Egypt is echoed in the Americas, at the sprawling ancient metropolis of Teotihuacan. Here, geometry was not just applied to a single building, but to an entire city. The layout is a perfect grid, a vast sacred diagram etched onto the landscape. The central axis, known as the Avenue of the Dead, runs for over 1.5 miles, connecting the three great monuments, the Pyramid of the Moon, the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, and the colossal Pyramid of the Sun. This pyramid itself presents a stunning parallel to its Egyptian counterpart. The perimeter of its base is nearly identical to that of the Great Pyramid of Giza, a staggering coincidence that hints at a shared, or perhaps rediscovered, understanding of planetary scale. But the genius of Teotihuacan is in its celestial choreography. The entire city is a mirror of the heavens. Its grid is not aligned to true north, but is deliberately offset to face the point on the horizon where the Pleiades star cluster rises. This specific alignment transformed the city into a terrestrial map of a cosmic pattern. On the equinoxes, when day and night are of equal length, the sun's descent creates a play of light and shadow on the stepped pyramids that seems to bring the stone to life, a calculated display of solar alignment. In this place, there was no separation between the city and the sky, between the home and the temple. Every street, every platform, every structure was part of a single, unified instrument for observing and honoring the cosmos. This was not a city that merely had sacred sites. It was a city that was, in its entirety, a sacred site. The mystery then deepens, for this global pattern of geometric encoding points to a question that has puzzled researchers for generations. How could such similar ideas flourish in cultures separated by vast oceans and seemingly impassable barriers? The same impulse to build a model of the cosmos took a different, yet equally profound, form on the island of Java. The Temple of Borobudur does not reach for the sky with towering peaks, but instead unfolds across the earth as a massive stone mandala. From above, its design is breathtakingly clear, a perfect geometric diagram of the Buddhist universe rendered on a colossal scale. Pilgrims do not simply walk into this temple, they embark on a deliberate, transformative journey. The path begins at the base, a world of desire and form, and winds its way upward through a series of concentric square terraces. These galleries are lined with over 2,000 intricate relief panels and more than 500 statues of the Buddha, telling the story of his teachings and past lives. The geometry here is not just decorative, it is the very architecture of enlightenment. The square planes represent the earthly realm, solid and tangible. As the pilgrim ascends, the path guides them through increasingly refined states of consciousness. Then, a remarkable transition occurs. The rigid squares give way to 3 circular terraces, their forms softening, symbolizing the shift from the world of form to the formless. Here, 72 perforated stupas, each containing a statue of the Buddha, sit in perfect rings. Finally, the journey culminates at the central, largest stupa at the very top. This final dome is empty, representing nirvana, the ultimate state of bliss and the cessation of all suffering. The entire structure, with its precise ratios and harmonious progression, creates a physical sensation of ascending harmony. The mathematics of its construction were a spiritual technology designed to guide the individual step by step, from the outer world of illusion to the inner experience of ultimate reality. This was geometry used not merely to build a monument, but to map the deepest possible human transformation. This same mathematical harmony that built temples also whispers in the unfurling of a fern. A simple sequence of numbers 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, and so on, where each number is the sum of the 2 before it, appears with astonishing regularity throughout the natural world. This is the Fibonacci sequence, and it is far more than a numerical curiosity. It is the hidden architecture of life itself. You can find it in the spiral arrangement of leaves around a stem, ensuring each leaf gets maximum sunlight. You see it in the flawless pattern of seeds in the center of a sunflower, packed with dizzying efficiency. It even governs the grand, swirling arms of distant galaxies. This pattern creates a spiral, a logarithmic spiral that maintains its shape as it grows, and this is precisely the same elegant curve you find in the chambered nautilus shell. The shell does not just happen to be beautiful, it grows according to a precise, efficient mathematical law. Now, consider the profound implication. Ancient artists and builders, through keen observation of the world around them, began to incorporate this very same algorithm of life into their work. They may not have called it the Fibonacci sequence, but they recognized its presence in the living world and understood its inherent sense of balance, growth, and beauty. This is why so much ancient art and architecture feels so organically right to us, even today. The proportions feel natural because they are natural. They are the same proportions found in a pine cone, a hurricane, and the human ear. By weaving this universal code into their structures, from the floor plans of temples to the scrollwork on a vase, these creators were forging a tangible link between human artistry and the fundamental creativity of the cosmos. They were not just building objects, they were cultivating a resonance, designing spaces and forms that subconsciously remind us of our deep, intrinsic connection to the living, growing, mathematical world. The same mathematical harmony that guides a growing leaf found its ultimate architectural expression in the jungles of Cambodia. Angkor Wat is more than a temple. It is a universe in miniature, a staggering act of world-building carved from sandstone. Its entire design is a perfect square, a shape ancient builders associated with stability, order, and the perfection of the earthly realm. This immense square is completely encircled by a vast moat, a symbolic representation of the primordial cosmic ocean that, in Hindu belief, surrounded the known world. At its heart, 5 majestic towers rise like stone lotus buds. They are arranged in a precise geometric pattern known as a quincunx. 4 points forming a square with a 5th point at the very center. This is not a random decorative choice. The quincunx is one of humanity's oldest and most sacred symbols, representing the 4 cardinal directions united and given meaning by a central, unifying axis. This central point is Mount Meru, the mythical mountain at the very center of the universe, the home of the gods and the pivot around which all of creation turns. The architects of Angkor Wat did not just build a temple to honor this concept, they built the concept itself. They used geometry to make the invisible visible, transforming abstract cosmological ideas into a landscape you can walk through. And they anchored this entire cosmic model to the heavens above. The western gateway of the complex is aligned with such precision that on the spring equinox, an observer can witness the sun rising in perfect alignment directly over the central tower. In that moment, the boundary between heaven and earth, between the map and the territory, completely dissolves. The sun itself seems to crown the sacred mountain, fulfilling the temple's ultimate purpose to synchronize human ritual with celestial order. This fusion of sacred geography, astronomy, and flawless geometry was a profound attempt to bring the harmony of the cosmos down to earth, creating a permanent residence for divine power in the human world. Yet the geometric impulse to map the cosmos was also expressed on a truly colossal, two-dimensional scale. Etched into the high desert plains of Peru, the Nazca lines present a mystery of a different kind. These are not towering structures, but immense drawings on the earth itself, a vast canvas of geometric shapes and stylized animals that can only be fully comprehended from high above. The precision here is staggering. Straight lines stretch for miles across the rugged terrain, arrow straight with almost no deviation. Complex spirals, perfect triangles, and enormous trapezoids were laid out with a geometric clarity that defies their ancient origin. How did a culture without flight achieve such accuracy over such vast distances? The answer lies in a masterful yet simple application of surveying. Using chords, stakes, and a profound understanding of proportion, the Nazca people could scale up a small model into a giant geoglyph. They understood that by creating a central axis and working outward in precise, measured increments, they could replicate a complex form across kilometers of desert. This was not random art, it was a calculated, technical feat. The purpose of these giant drawings continues to spark debate. Were they a massive astronomical calendar with lines pointing to celestial events on the horizon? Or perhaps they were a sacred map with the stylized animal forms like the hummingbird and the spider representing constellations, while the long, straight lines traced the flow of precious water deep beneath the arid soil. This second idea is particularly compelling. In a landscape where water was life, the lines may have formed a spiritual diagram of the hidden aquifers, a prayer for water made visible on a gigantic scale. The true meaning may forever remain just out of reach, but the lines themselves are an undeniable testament to a culture that saw its entire landscape as a page to be inscribed with sacred geometry, a permanent record of their relationship with the heavens and the earth beneath their feet. This same geometric language of unity appears in one of Christianity's most enduring symbols. The Vesica Piscis is a simple yet profound shape, an almond-like form created where two identical circles overlap, each passing through the other's center. For early Christian architects and artists, this was far more than a decorative motif. It represented a sacred meeting point, the very intersection of the divine and the human, the spiritual and the material world. You see it again and again in ancient mosaics and illuminated manuscripts, framing the figure of Christ or the Virgin Mary, visually placing them at the nexus of two realities. But the power of this shape goes beyond its poetic meaning. It is rooted in pure mathematics. The proportions within the Vesica Piscis are governed by the square root of 3, another one of those fundamental, irrational numbers that, like pi, cannot be expressed as a simple fraction and seems to echo the infinite. This precise, inescapable ratio gave the shape its harmonic authority. This was not just symbolism to be painted, it was a blueprint to be built. The master builders of the great Gothic cathedrals incorporated the Vesica Piscis directly into their floor plans. The entire layout of the church, the long central nave crossing the shorter transepts to form the shape of the cross, was often proportioned according to the geometry of this overlapping circles. The relationship between the length of the nave, the width of the transepts, and the curve of the apse at the far end were all determined by this sacred diagram. When you walk through such a cathedral, you are literally walking inside a three-dimensional Vesica Piscis. The architecture itself becomes a form of visual theology, a silent sermon in stone that speaks of unity, connection, and the meeting of heaven and earth. The building was designed not just to house the faithful, but to elevate them, using the immutable laws of geometry to create a space that resonated with a sense of divine order and harmony. A single unit of measure echoes across thousands of years. In the mid-20th century, an engineer and archaeologist named Alexander Thom made a startling proposal after surveying hundreds of Neolithic sites across Britain and France. He identified what he believed was a standard unit of measurement used by the builders of these ancient monuments, a unit he named the Megalithic Yard. This was not a random guess. Thom meticulously documented the diameters of stone circles and the dimensions of burial mounds, finding the same figure appearing again and again with a consistency that defied coincidence. The megalithic yard measured approximately 2.72 feet, a length that seems to have been the fundamental building block for a vast network of sacred sites. This is more than a simple measurement. It is a key to understanding the mind of the megalithic builders. To use a standard unit across such a wide geographic area implies something profound, a shared system of knowledge. It suggests that these separate communities, from the remote Scottish Isles to the coast of Brittany, were not isolated tribes working in ignorance of one another. They were participants in a common tradition, a school of thought that understood geometry, astronomy, and the importance of building to a precise, universal scale. The creation of a complex stone circle, with its astronomical alignments and perfect geometric shapes, would have been nearly impossible without a standardized unit. It was the essential tool for translating a grand cosmic design from a master plan into an arrangement of multi-ton stones. This shared measurement hints at a level of social organization and technical communication that we are only just beginning to appreciate. It paints a picture of a coordinated prehistoric Europe whose legacy is not written on parchment, but encoded in the very stones they left behind. These 5 perfect shapes, known as the Platonic solids, represent one of philosophy's most ambitious attempts to map reality itself. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato assigned each solid to a fundamental element of the cosmos. The stable, unmoving cube was the very essence of Earth. The fluid and graceful icosahedron was the shape of water. The sharp, penetrating tetrahedron embodied the nature of fire. The multi-faceted octahedron was given to air. And the mysterious dodecahedron, with its 12 pentagonal faces, was reserved for the stuff of the stars and the heavens, what Plato called the ether. This was not a casual metaphor. To Plato, these were not just symbols, they were the literal geometric templates that underpinned all of material existence. The reason these 5 shapes held such power is their unique mathematical perfection. They are the only 3-dimensional forms you can create where every single face is an identical regular polygon, every angle is the same, and every vertex, the point where the corners meet, is identical. They are, in a sense, the atomic building blocks of geometry itself. While you will not find a giant stone icosahedron standing on a hilltop, the philosophical principle they represent became a cornerstone of later architectural thought. During the Renaissance, architects rediscovered these classical ideas and saw in the Platonic solids a divine blueprint. They began to design buildings and spaces based on these perfect forms, believing that by echoing the fundamental shapes of the cosmos, they could create structures of profound harmony and beauty. This philosophical leap connects the microscopic to the cosmic. It suggests that the same geometric laws that govern the arrangement of atoms might also govern the grand design of a temple or the orbit of a planet, creating a resonant link between the world we build and the universe we inhabit. High on a sun-baked cliff face in Chaco Canyon, a silent clockwork of stone and light has been marking the seasons for nearly 1,000 years. The ancestral Puebloan people, sometimes called the Anasazi, engineered a celestial observatory of breathtaking elegance. At the summit of Fajota Butte, they positioned 3 massive, carefully balanced stone slabs. Behind these slabs, they carved a spiral petroglyph into the rock face. This was not merely a decoration, it was the focal point of an intricate astronomical instrument. As the sun moves across the sky throughout the year, its light filters through the narrow gaps between the slabs. On the summer solstice, the longest day, a brilliant dagger of sunlight appears and slices directly through the very heart of the spiral. 6 months later, on the winter solstice, the shortest day, 2 distinct daggers of light perfectly bracket the same carving, framing it in solar fire. This phenomenon is a masterstroke of observation and design. It represents a perfect fusion of art and science, where a geometric symbol becomes a precise solar calendar. The spiral itself is a powerful, ancient motif representing cycles, and here it is animated by the sun itself to signal the turning of the year. This was a way to anchor their culture to the cosmos, to know precisely when to plant, when to harvest, and when to hold their most important ceremonies. It is a monument that proves you do not need complex machinery to achieve profound accuracy, only a deep understanding of the patterns woven into the world itself. The same geometric principles that map the stars were also used to sculpt the very air. In the great open-air theaters of ancient Greece and Rome, the architecture was designed not just for the eye, but for the ear. The semicircular shape of the amphitheater, with its rows of stone seats rising in a perfect curve known as the cavea, functioned as a massive acoustic amplifier. Every contour was calculated with a profound understanding of how sound waves travel and reflect. At the legendary theater of Epidaurus, a performer standing on the central stage, the orchestra, can be heard with perfect clarity by someone sitting in the very last row, nearly 200 feet away. There are no hidden microphones, no electronic tricks, only pure, applied geometry. The precise curvature of the stone steps acts like a giant sound lens, capturing the vibrations of a whisper and focusing them upward, carrying every word and every note to the entire audience. This was physics made manifest through form. The builders were manipulating an invisible force, shaping space to control sound itself. This genius transformed a communal gathering into a deeply immersive experience. Whether it was the tragic lines of a play or the powerful speech of an orator, the geometry of the place ensured that every single person, from the wealthy patron in the front to the common citizen at the top, participated fully in the event. It was a democratic design using mathematical certainty to create acoustic equality. This mastery reveals an ancient truth that the most profound applications of geometry are often the ones we hear rather than see. Plato's account of Atlantis is not a tale of a sunken treasure, but a blueprint for a perfect society. He described its capital city with meticulous detail, an arrangement of 3 concentric rings of water alternating with 2 rings of land, all encircling a central island. This was not a haphazard design, it was a geometric ideal, a mandala of absolute order and harmony. For Plato, the perfect circle represented divine perfection and completeness, and by structuring his mythical city in this way, he was making a profound philosophical statement. A civilization built upon such flawless principles, he suggested, would be both powerful and morally just. Its legendary downfall, therefore, was not just a physical catastrophe, but the collapse of that very order into chaos and hubris. The enduring power of this myth lies not in its historical reality, but in the potency of its geometric vision. Centuries later, Renaissance architects, inspired by Plato's ideas, sought to bring this ideal to life. They drafted plans for utopian cities laid out as perfect circles, believing that the very shape of a city could foster a more harmonious and enlightened society. While few were ever fully built, the attempt itself reveals a deep and recurring human impulse. We are drawn to the idea that our world, with all its complexity and conflict, can be shaped by reason and beauty. The monuments we have explored are the physical evidence of this timeless quest. The pyramids, the temples, the stone circles, they are all echoes of Atlantis, not as a lost continent, but as a lost ideal, a dream of a universe perfectly understood and perfectly reflected in the world we build. These breathtaking patterns transform a wall into a window on infinity. In the majestic domes and serene courtyards of Islamic architecture, you find no images of people or animals. Instead, the surfaces come alive with an endless dance of stars and polygons, woven together into a seamless, repeating tapestry. This is more than mere decoration. It is a profound spiritual language written in line and angle. The core principle behind this art is Tawhid, the absolute oneness of the divine. How do you visually represent a concept that is infinite and indivisible? You do not create a single, finite image. You create a pattern that has no beginning and no end, a design that extends outward in all directions forever, all generated from a single, unifying geometric rule. The incredible diversity of shapes within the pattern, the countless intersecting lines and overlapping forms, all emerge from that one foundational principle. It is a universe in miniature, infinitely diverse yet utterly unified. To achieve this, the artisans mastered a deep and practical geometry. They understood how to divide a circle with perfect symmetry, creating the points from which their stars would burst forth. They worked with the mathematical laws of tessellation, the art of fitting shapes together without gaps or overlaps, like the tiles on a floor, but raised to an unimaginable level of complexity. Using only a compass and a straightedge, they could construct patterns of staggering intricacy, patterns that our modern eyes might assume were designed by a computer. This was not art for art's sake, it was a form of meditation. To craft such a pattern was to contemplate the orderly mind of creation. To stand and gaze upon it was to be gently led from the world of separate forms toward a feeling of boundless unity. The architecture itself becomes a spiritual tool, guiding the observer toward a silent understanding that transcends words. This geometric pursuit of the infinite reveals a final, startling possibility that our entire physical world might also be a kind of sacred pattern, a cosmic geometry we are only beginning to perceive. Perhaps the most staggering correlations are not found in a single monument, but in the way a single number seems to weave them all together into a global model. The number 43,200 appears with such precision in the Great Pyramid's geometry that it defies easy dismissal. If you take the pyramid's original height and multiply it by this number, the result is remarkably close to the polar radius of the Earth. Then, if you take its base perimeter and perform the same multiplication, you arrive at a figure almost matching the planet's equatorial circumference. This is not a rough estimate, it is a precise, scaled-down representation. But why this specific number? The answer may lie in the sky. 43,200 is not a random figure. It is a key to one of the grandest celestial clocks, the precession of the equinoxes. This is the slow, wobbling drift of Earth's axis that completes one full cycle every 25,776 years. The number 43,200 is exactly 1/600th of that great cycle. This is where the idea of a deliberate design becomes almost overwhelming. It suggests the pyramid's architects were not just mapping a static Earth, they were encoding a dynamic relationship between our planet and the cosmos, capturing both its form and its motion in a single, timeless constant. Could this be a series of unbelievable coincidences, or does it point to a forgotten epoch of human knowledge? Some researchers argue that this reveals a sophisticated ancient understanding of geodesy, the science of measuring the Earth itself. In this view, these sacred sites were not just local temples, they were nodes in a planetary network, each one a microcosm designed to reflect the macrocosm of the entire world. The monument becomes a seed, containing within its precise proportions the entire blueprint of the planet it stands upon. Across the forests of what is now southern Ohio, a different kind of monument lies coiled within the landscape itself. The Great Serpent Mound is not built with quarried stone, but sculpted from the earth, a vast, undulating form nearly a quarter of a mile long. From the ground, its full shape is elusive, a gentle rise and fall of soil and grass. But from above, the vision becomes breathtakingly clear, a giant serpent, its body winding in 7 distinct coils, culminating in a head that seems to hold a giant egg in its open jaws. This was not a casual creation. Every curve, every alignment was a deliberate act of cosmic cartography. The serpent's coiled body is oriented with such precision that its major curves align with the setting sun on the solstices and equinoxes. The head itself points directly to the rising sun on the longest day of the year, the summer solstice, but the builder's gaze reached beyond our solar system. Some researchers propose that the serpent's entire winding form mirrors the stars of the constellation Draco, the dragon, as it would have circled the northern pole of the sky thousands of years ago. This transforms the mound from a simple effigy into a sophisticated, 3-dimensional map, charting the movements of both the sun and the stars across the seasons. It is a profound statement, carved not into stone but into the living earth, proving that the intricate language of sacred geometry and celestial observation was spoken here too. This colossal earthwork stands as a powerful testament to a universal human impulse, a shared desire to mark the eternal rhythms of the heavens here on our earthly home. From the sprawling earthworks of Ohio to the rigid streets of a Roman colony, the language of sacred geometry took on a new and formidable accent. Roman planners did not just build cities, they stamped a template of absolute order onto the landscape itself. At the heart of every new settlement, from the bustling ports of North Africa to the distant outposts of Britain, lay the same geometric blueprint: 2 main streets, the Cardo running north to south and the Decumanus running east to west, crossed at a perfect right angle in the city center. This central crossroads was more than a traffic intersection. It was the symbolic axis of the entire community, dividing the urban space into 4 precise quarters. This system, known as centuriation, was a grid of power extended across the empire. It was a physical declaration that here, in this place, Roman logic and Roman law now reigned supreme. The geometry was not merely for efficient land division, it was the very architecture of control. A soldier transferred from a fort in Gaul to a new posting in Judea would immediately recognize the layout of his new home, the familiar grid providing a psychological anchor in a foreign land. This geometric consistency was a tool of governance, ensuring that the machinery of the state, from tax collection to military deployment, could function with predictable efficiency anywhere Rome's eagles flew. The straight, unwavering lines of their aqueducts marching across valleys were not just feats of engineering, but visible proof of this unyielding will. Water, the source of life, was now bound by Roman geometry and made to flow according to a Roman plan. This was geometry in the service of empire, a demonstration that the same principles used to map the stars could also be used to organize humanity and project authority across the known world. The rigid geometry of imperial Rome finds its ultimate philosophical expression in the heart of China. The Forbidden City in Beijing is not merely a palace, it is a universe in miniature, a perfect geometric diagram of cosmic and political order. Its entire layout is a masterpiece of symmetry, stretching along a single, powerful north-south axis. This central line was the backbone of the world, a physical representation of the harmonious balance between the celestial and the earthly, between the passive, receptive energy of yin and the active, creative force of yang. This was not an aesthetic choice, but a spiritual and political necessity. Every hall, every gate, every courtyard was positioned to maintain this perfect equilibrium, ensuring that the emperor's rule was in constant, resonant alignment with the cosmos itself. This alignment was dictated by the ancient principles of Feng Shui, a system for arranging the human world in harmony with the invisible energies of the earth. The entire complex was carefully sited and shaped to channel positive energy, with protective hills to the north and life-giving water to the south. But the cosmic coding goes far deeper than its orientation. The numbers embedded in its architecture are a silent language of power. The number 9, the largest single-digit number, was reserved for the emperor, symbolizing his supreme authority. You see this in the 9 rows of 9 golden door studs on the grand gates, and in the mythical figures that line the roof lines of the most important halls, their count always an auspicious 9. These numbers are not random, they are drawn from sacred texts like the I Ching, the Book of Changes, which maps the fundamental patterns of the universe. This meticulous numerology extends to the very rooms and columns, each quantity chosen for its specific cosmological meaning. The entire palace complex was designed as a terrestrial reflection of the Purple Palace, the celestial abode of the supreme deity in Chinese astronomy. By building this heavenly mirror on earth, the emperor was not just living in a palace, he was residing at the very pivot of creation, the human conduit between heaven and earth. His throne, placed precisely on the central axis, was the still point around which this geometric universe turned. The architecture itself was a form of governance, a physical manifestation of the mandate of heaven that legitimized his rule. To walk through its gates was to enter a world where every line and number whispered of a divine, unshakable order, a perfect geometry of power intended to last for 10,000 years. The same search for hidden patterns that captivated ancient builders exploded into modern pop culture with Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code. Though a work of fiction, the novel tapped into a deep and widespread curiosity, a suspicion that our greatest art and architecture hold layers of meaning just beyond casual view. It centered on the figure of Leonardo da Vinci, a man who truly did see the world through a geometric lens. For Leonardo, the act of drawing was an act of measurement and discovery. He meticulously dissected the human form, not just as an artist but as a scientist, seeking the perfect proportions within. His famous Vitruvian Man is a living theorem, a man perfectly inscribed within both a circle and a square, illustrating the belief that the human body was a microcosm of the universal order. He applied this same mathematical eye to the turbulent flow of water, the growth patterns of plants, and even the design of futuristic machines. Everywhere he looked, he saw a world built not on chaos, but on an elegant, underlying geometry. The modern fascination with stories like the Da Vinci Code reminds us that this is not a dry, historical pursuit. It is a powerful narrative thread that runs through human history, a story of seeking and sometimes finding a key to a deeper reality. It connects us directly to the minds of the masters, not as distant historical figures, but as fellow seekers who left clues in plain sight, waiting for a future generation to look closely enough to see the pattern. This enduring quest suggests that the most profound truths are not always hidden in secret vaults, but are often encoded in the very beauty we have learned to take for granted. Of course, these incredible connections invite a healthy dose of skepticism. When we look at ancient sites with our modern minds, it is easy to see patterns we want to see. Could many of these alignments simply be random chance? An archaeoastronomer faces this challenge directly, using statistical analysis to determine if a solar alignment at a temple occurs too frequently to be mere coincidence. They ask if the specific placement of stones could have happened by accident, and the mathematics often reveals a deliberate intent that is statistically undeniable. Yet another question arises from the sheer scale of these accomplishments, leading some to propose extraordinary answers like the ancient astronaut theory. This idea suggests that humanity required outside help, a notion that, while captivating, fundamentally dismisses the vast evidence of human ingenuity. It overlooks the generations of skilled observers who meticulously tracked the slow drift of stars across lifetimes, the engineers who mastered leverage and pulley systems we no longer fully understand, and the cultural dedication that could see a single project through centuries. The most profound explanation is often the most human one. Our ancestors possessed a brilliant intellect, a deep, patient connection to the natural world, and a powerful drive to build meaning into their landscape. They may have used methods and tools that seem simple to us, but their application was sophisticated and sustained. The real mystery is not who helped them, but how we lost touch with the depth of their knowledge for so long. This perspective does not diminish their achievements, it elevates them, revealing a story of human potential that is far more compelling than any fiction. This recurring pattern across continents points to something far deeper than cultural diffusion. It suggests a fundamental aspect of the human mind itself. When societies separated by oceans and millennia turn their gaze to the heavens and the earth, they begin to discern the same underlying rhythms and relationships. The circle and the square are not just shapes, they are primal concepts of wholeness and stability that any culture observing the horizon, the sun, and their own dwellings would naturally recognize. The solstices and equinoxes are not intellectual inventions, they are undeniable pivot points in the annual cycle of life, crucial for survival. The geometric ratios that create harmony to our eyes are the same ratios that govern efficient growth in nature. These were not secrets passed from one master to another. They were truths waiting to be observed by anyone who looked closely enough at the world. The real revelation is not that this knowledge was shared, but that it was independently rediscovered time and again. This was not a primitive struggle for existence, but a profound intellectual awakening. These cultures were conducting the first great experiments in physics, astronomy, and mathematics, using the landscape and the sky as their laboratory. They were the first philosophers seeking to answer the eternal questions, not with words alone, but with the silent, enduring language of stone and earth. Their legacy is a testament to a universal human drive to find order in the cosmos and to build a reflection of that perfect order here on Earth. Our journey across continents and millennia reveals a truth written not in words but in form and alignment. We have seen how a shared geometric language was used not for simple decoration, but for a profound and universal purpose, to harmonize human existence with the cosmos itself. From the pyramids to the Parthenon, from Stonehenge to Angkor, the same patterns emerge. The golden ratio and the constant pi were not just numbers, they were seen as the fundamental signatures of beauty and cosmic order. These precise astronomical alignments were a way of anchoring human life to the grand, predictable cycles of the sun, moon, and stars. This was a deep-seated human intuition for meaning, an impulse to build our world as a reflection of a perfect, underlying reality. These silent stones now pose a powerful challenge to our modern understanding of history and human potential. The greatest mystery left to us may not be the technical how of their construction, but the philosophical why. Why did so many diverse cultures choose this specific language of circles, squares, and ratios to speak to the future? It seems they believed that geometry was the one constant, a universal code that would never be lost, a message in a bottle meant for a time when we would once again be ready to listen. Let this exploration be your personal invitation to look closer at the world around you. Question the familiar shapes of both ancient monuments and modern architecture. See if you can sense the hidden order, the quiet resonance of a design that seeks to be more than just a building. Which of these monuments, with its hidden geometric heart, speaks most deeply to you? Share your thoughts in the comments below and continue the conversation about this silent, global language of stone and sky.